Friday the 13th, October 1972. Raining again tonight. Raining a lot lately. Like heaven is trying hard to wash away all of New York's sins.
The critically acclaimed Watchmen is a brilliant and beautiful comic masterpiece that, as you may have heard, has been made into a movie directed by the guy who did 300. Well, there's a game too, set in the Watchmen universe called Watchmen: The End is Nigh, and you can download it on your Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, or PC for $20. Now, $20 may seem a little steep for a downloadable game, but it's all about expectations. If you're looking for a game with even a sliver of the maturity or depth of the comic series, this isn't it. If you want a game that lets you relive your favorite action scenes from the movie, you're out of luck. Watchmen: The End is Nigh is a beat-em-up set years before the event of the movie. Playing as either Rorschach or Night Owl, you travel through the rough areas of town and pummel people. Aside from pulling a switch here or picking a lock there, beating bad guys down is all you do for the 3 or 4 hours that the game lasts. It's a beat-em-up. But is it a good beat-em-up? Yeah, it is. Let's start with the combat. The basic controls are simple: light attack, heavy attack, throw, and block. You can batter your enemies with attacks and eventually they'll go down, and your knockout punch will land with an extra satisfying impact. If an enemy is weakened, a big icon will appear over his head. Press the matching button and you'll trigger a brutal knockout animation. The camera angle switches and you get to watch as your character puts the hurt on with a nasty combination of blows. Each character has some pretty satisfying finishers, but Rorschach's are particularly ruthless. Even after you think he's delivered his last crushing blow, he's still got 1 or 2 more in him. Vicious stuff. That guy is a firecracker, and it's fun just to watch him go off. It's also really fun to throw your enemies, whether you toss them into their buddies, or into the water, off of a building, into a wall, over a railing so he hits his head on the way over, pretty much wherever. The animations are solid and the sound effects pack a punch, so even basic combat is satisfying. You can unlock combos that will stun or knock down your enemy, and these are perfect for setting up another throw, or perhaps a nice little stomp fest. Each character also has 2 special attacks that drain energy from a meter in the corner of the screen. Rorschach's is, appropriately, a rage meter that fills up as he fights and allows him to do a short bull rush, or just flip out and hit that much harder for a short period of time. Night Owl's Owl Suit gains charge over time, and his grenade and electrify powers are helpful area attacks, the latter of which zaps everyone nearby and leaves him electrified for a short time. You can also block and counterattack pretty easily, and counterattacking will disarm your enemy and allow Rorschach to grab and use whatever melee weapon his enemy was using. As if his takedowns weren't brutal enough already. Yikes. There's a few tasks that break up the action, notably a tricky lock-picking minigame that feels a bit out of place, given that our heroes feel the need to delicately fiddle with a lock on a chain-link fence after they've just beat up entire biker gangs and lifted steel shutters. Fortunately, these are just side areas that hide unlockables or small bonuses, and you can skip them if you want. There's other stuff like lever pulling and valve turning, but this game is really all about combat.
What's with the
The End is Nigh looks great. Gloomy, rain-soaked environments glisten without looking waxy and sport an impressive level of detail. Dramatic lighting creates these highlighted pockets amidst deep shadows, and the animations are generally top-notch. There are some pseudo-animated cutscenes that crib the comic's graphical style, and they tell the story of a sinister setup that isn't much more than a few pages long, but fits nicely within the Watchmen universe.
I'm warning you, attempt to land, and my officers will shoot you.
Fine. If that's the way you want to play it.
Not the warm welcome we hoped for.
But the story isn't the reason to play the game. The combat is. It can feel a bit repetitive at times, and there's this looming danger that it might devolve into simple button mashing, but it really never does, and if you're just mashing the buttons, you're doing it wrong. Watchmen is a game for folks who can enjoy gleefully beating the snot out of legions of bad guys, and who take the time to vary their attacks as they go. You can play split screen with a friend, which is a fun way to see both characters and their unique attacks, but alas, there's no support for online play. So is it worth $20? Well, if all that punching sounds fun to you, then yeah, it is. The combat is varied enough to stay fun for a few hours, and the production values are really impressive. There's some replay incentives, and the simple, visceral delight of cracking skulls holds up pretty well. Folks looking for any sort of depth, complexity, or originality just shouldn't play this game. It's very shallow, but sometimes it's fun just to dish out some good old-fashioned beatdowns. Lots and lots of beatdowns.